What's
Hey,
up, everybody?
hey. How are you? Welcome back to Off the Record. We have a very, very fun special episode today to share with you guys. How are you feeling, Anisa? Are you excited for this? Are you excited?
Baby, I feel like Robin Roberts, okay? When I tell you I have locked in, okay? I'm locked in for days. I actually accomplished a goal already for the year. I read a book. Hey,
Okay.
I
Same.
can't wait to tell you my thoughts on the book, which is
Yeah.
what, today is all about. So I'm excited about that. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Y'all, we love all things culture. We love books. We love to celebrate us, right? And then also being young Black women in the media and communications industry. So we are super excited to have our special guest here today. We have
Wait. Before we get into it, tell us one good thing that happened to you today, please. We got to set the
one good
tone.
thing. One good thing.
One
One
good
good
thing.
well, first of all, it's Black History Month. So
Hey,
that is a great thing. I'm happy to wake up. I'm happy to be Black. So I am very happy that it's Black History Month. This week, I don't know, I feel like there's so many things. There's so many things happening, a lot going on. But honestly, y'all, I'm just happy to be here and to show up. I told myself yesterday, I said, just because you don't feel like doing something, that doesn't mean that you should not do it. And that was me reminding myself to not order out and cook dinner.
wow.
So yeah, so those small little things help keep me on track. Because we have busy days in our world and our industry, so it's always a lot going on. So I have to remind myself to stay in my.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you cooked this week. For me, I did the opposite. I ordered some wings and some fries, and there's a glass of wine waiting for me after this. And I got booked this week, so I'm happy about that. But, while we let the anticipation build, we could keep y'all here all day, but we're not going to do that. Why? Because it's Black History Month and because we have a very special guest who we are also celebrating this month. So, without further ado, y'all, we have the one and only Amy DuBois Barnett, who is an award winning media executive, author, and cultural leader whose career spans woo, the highest levels of media and independent brand building. Y'all, she's a big deal.
Yes.
She's held senior leadership roles at Paramount, Hearst, Disney, and Time Inc., including serving as SVP and General Manager of BET Digital, Chief Content Officer at Entertainment Studios, and leading the launch of ESPN's The Undefeated.
And also, y'all, she became the first Black woman to run a major mainstream magazine, editor-in-chief of Ebony magazine and Honey, and as a deputy editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar. Barnett has shaped culture both behind the scenes and in the public eye. She is also an NAACP Image Award nominated author of Get Yours and critically acclaimed fiction writer with her new novel, If I Ruled the World, which we are going to get into today. Super excited to talk about Amy. Welcome.
I
Hello.
appreciate you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you.
There's no way we were going to get into this without acknowledging the many wonderful things that you have.
I mean, well, you know what? My one thing that great that happened to me today is this.
Oh, yes. Well, like we said, we're so excited to have you. Y'all, first things first, look at this. Look at the cover.
The cover.
Can we just admire the hands on the hip, the posture, the model-esque of it all? If you read the book, then you know why model is so important to throw in there. Okay? It's good. So,
I appreciate you. I appreciate it. That cover took a lot of work, so thank you. I feel seen.
well, her waist is snatched. The energy is felt. The power, the ambition, all of it is felt through the cover. First and foremost, how are you feeling?
I feel so proud, if I'm honest. Like, I just feel really proud today, I mean, writing this book, this novel is a return to my original dream. I got a master's in fine arts and creative writing in my 20s. And then I started this book in my 30s. And then I finished it in my 50s. So, this is like a full circle return to a goal that I established for myself, years ago. And now here it is. And this book that's been incredibly important to me for such a long time is out there in the world and it's being really well received. And I'm thrilled.
So, Amy, with us reading your amazing background and resume, first of all, it is very stacked, and I'm feeling so inspired. I feel like as a little kid, I remember being like, I want to be like an editor-in-chief or a creative director. And I found myself working in PR and comms and things. And that was always something I thought that I wanted to be. And even looking back, like Devil Wears Prada was like one of my favorite movies watching growing up. And that was like something that I always was like, I want to be, but we obviously didn't always see that represented. Like, again, that movie is not a Black or a brown woman or person in general on there, but it was definitely something that I
Like
always
at
looked
all.
at all. Um, so when you hear your resume being read to you, how do you feel when you hear it? Like, does it feel like, wait a second, like that's me, or like, really that's me?
I mean, I am honored, I guess. I'm really honored. Like, I have had the privilege of being able to represent Black folks, represent Black women, across so many different media brands for so many different years. I've had the privilege of being able to, tell the stories of folks who may not have, a voice, or an ability to, project their own perspective in a way that's meaningful and impactful. So, and I've also been really fortunate to kick down doors for other folks. You know what I mean? I mean, I know that I've opened up opportunities for other people who've been able to walk in with me or after me. So I hope that is ultimately my legacy. Somebody who's represented our community well, somebody who's shaped culture, and somebody who's opened doors for other, folks of color.
Absolutely. It's always about paying it forward. I always say that.
Ma'am,
Like
yes.
paying it forward. I don't want to be the only in the room. I want
Ma'am. Talk
there's
about it in these Black History Month streets.
yes, yes, we're gonna talk about it all year, okay? And especially during Black History Month.
Yes.
So with that, you've led at the highest levels again of legacy, media, and independent brands. So what is the biggest truth about the industry that most people don't realize until they're really like inside?
You know what's interesting? You know what I used to get a lot? So, I think when people like see folks in, glamorous like looking positions, right? People just assume you just out like dressed to the nines all the time, like that's your job. Like, you know what I mean? Like they see you at a fashion show, for example, or at a album listening session. And it's like, oh, there she is again, outside looking whatever. And, dressed, right? And I think what people don't process is just the straight up amount of work, like the amount of work it takes to get the job and the amount of work it takes to do the job at the highest level. You know what I mean? Like people would see me out, they'd be like, oh my God, you're so glamorous all the time. And I'd be like, oh. Meanwhile, I like ate dinner the night before out of the vending machine at midnight because I was trying to like get something over the line or put it to bed or whatever I was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people just don't see that side of it, just the grind. You know what I mean? Just the like rolling up your sleeves, like straight up, like real grind of it all. So I tell people, I've said, people have asked me over the years, like, about professional advice and balancing things. And, and I've started to say recently, like, this life is not for everyone. It's not, it's, not everyone wants to do this level of work. And I don't mean that in a braggadocious way. I just mean it for real. Like, it's just, there's so much work involved in having a career like this. It may not be for everyone because it's not for the faint of heart, and
Yeah.
you do sacrifice a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned the grind. And I think back to my early 20s and even being in college. And I remember waking up really early to make a post so people would see me and I'd be the first thing on their timelines. And then I was traveling an hour and a half back and forth one way to Atlanta to make sure I had internships and, just being in the room. And so when I think
You
about the
know,
grind then, and where I am now, and also thinking about Nikki Rose and her being in her 20s and she celebrates her 30th birthday. I just turned 30. So I had headphones on listening to the audiobook and I go, oh, we the same age. And so I guess my question for you is when you think about the grind of your 20s, even into your early 30s, and where you are now, what conversation did you have to have with yourself in order to get you back into that same grind?
I mean, I never left the grind, I guess I should say. I mean, I think that it's one of the themes that I explore in my novel, If I Ruled the World, right? One of the things I explore is the cost of ambition, for women, and what it takes as a woman to find your voice, because they're related. And I've always been an ambitious person. I've always been somebody who's had very high expectations of people I care about around me and also myself, because I really believe that you will rise to the level of your expectations, you know what I mean, and where you will exceed them. But it's very difficult to rise past, past a certain level if the expectations of you are low.
Yeah.
So I've always placed very high expectations on myself so that I would have very high goals, to achieve. And I've also always felt that I had a particular opportunity, right? I have a particular set of experiences and a particular background that I knew would make me palatable to certain types of people who are doing certain types of hiring. And I knew that it was my responsibility to use that privilege to make sure that I was kicking in doors for people to come in with me or after me and or after me. And so I used to say to myself, like in terms of the grind and everything else, I'd be like, okay, if not you, then who? You know what I mean? Just try to get myself to a mental state where I was like, no, stay with it. Like, you got to stay with it, because you are the one who's going to open this door and people are going to flood in after you. So you have to stay the course. So, it's a series of things, that I've said to myself over the years, that kind of keep me in the game. And I also like a good pivot. I stay reinventing. I stay, so that the other piece of it, I guess, for me is that having this level of ambition keeps me on a journey that I love. I just love being on this journey, like continually trying to be a better, storyteller, a better, journalist, a better, partner, a better mom, a better friend, just, and all of that wrapped together just makes me very intentional about the way that I live my life.
That
Yeah.
is
And
so
I feel like recently we talked about in an episode about how the job always looks so glamorous and how, people don't get it. And I totally agree that only me and my team always say that there's only a certain kind of person that really can be in the world of media and comms and PR and even, content creation. Like it's a lot. And it's obviously there's other jobs that are very serious that are also a lot,
Absolutely.
but it's a different type of, especially as a woman, like when I even thought about like when my professor, I remember him always saying to us, like, PR is not a regular 9 to 5 job. Your life is really like so into it. And I realized as I continued to get deeper into my career, I was like, oh, I am working a lot. It's but I would say with that though, I truthfully do love my career. I love what I do. And of course, sometimes it can be stressful and all the things. But like you said, in the meantime, really you are extremely tired because you're on this set for forever. It's just always a lot going on. But I always say that I'm grateful that I actually have a career that I enjoy doing and that I actually care about doing. But it is not an easy job or task at all.
everything that you just said immediately takes me to the what I call the intervention that happens in If I Rule the World. And I remember
The bootleg intervention.
the bootleg intervention for intervention. I've had similar situations happen where unless you're in it, you just don't know, you don't understand, and there's no way to wrap somebody's mind around the thing that we do for work and the thing that we're chasing after. And
Yeah.
so I know this is your protagonist, but we're also getting a glimpse and pieces of what you experience throughout, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, so just for context about, my novel, If I Ruled the World. So it's set in New York City, right, in the late, 1990s, early 2000s, at the intersection of music, really hip hop, and the heyday of magazines and also fashion. There's really good fashion in the book. And you guys know that's one of the most important, cultural eras of our time. So the book is like a kind of behind the scenes peek into that world. And it's inspired by my experience as an editor in chief because we follow my protagonist, Nikki Rose, who, when we meet her, is the only Black editor at a high-end fashion magazine. And she eventually becomes editor in chief of an urban, Black women's magazine, lifestyle music magazine called Sugar, right? And you know, along the way, she's not coming of age because she's an adult. We meet her; she's 29, going into her 30s, but she's coming of power, right, inside of influential institutions where, um, you know, stuff like, you know, glamour and romance and friendship coexist alongside misogyny, you know, racism and danger, because this particular era was a perilous time to be a woman. So we're going to follow Nikki's journey as she, you know, really tries to figure out like what she's willing to sacrifice and who she's willing to become as she goes for her dreams. And so the journey is very interesting. You know, it's not my personal journey, right? I mean, there are obvious similarities between me and my protagonist, but it's not a roman clay. It's not my personal story, but it's set in a world that I know very well. And I certainly take certain things that I observed, you know, that happened to me or that I observed in the industry at that time or that I heard about. And I took some of them and I appropriated them, you know, for the book because I thought it was really important to write about this period of time from a woman's perspective. So, you know, I'm very fortunate to have come out of that era pretty unscathed, but I know a lot of women who did not, and I thought it was important to write about it for them.
And it's timeless. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
both of us sitting here, I know for me, I saw myself in the pages. And even
Mm-hmm.
talking to my boyfriend about the story, he's like, okay, so she's basically Khadijah James. And I went, I said, what you know about that? Well, I mean,
He
there's
scored some
so many,
points.
you know, he really came through with that. And one, just having supportive people like that around who can also challenge the conversation or be interested in even this novel. You laid it all out there. We see
Mm.
ourselves. So well done.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yes. No, it always feels good to be seen. And as we talk about, you know, being the first only different in those type of spaces, what did being the first cost you?
You know, it's difficult being in rooms, you know, that are not, you know, immediate that are not made for you. You know, being around people that are predisposed to dismiss you. Um, it took a lot of internal resolution. It took a lot of, you know, confidence, right? I really, you know, had to get comfortable in my own skin, um, and and uh, and in doing so, you know, I had to learn how to love all the pieces of me, not just the stuff that I really liked, you know, but the stuff, all of it, right? And that gave me a way of walking through the world that enabled me to project, you know, authority, that enabled me to project this, you know, confidence I'm referring to, because that's what got me through a lot of these situations. You know, I mean, I would have to walk into these rooms where people would be like, you know, who are you? And I would have to project enough confidence and authority so that people would listen to me. And then when they started listening to me, they would understand, oh, she's smart. Oh, wait a minute. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Oh, wait, you know, like they would start to kind of take what I'm saying seriously. Um, so, you know, it was at times lonely, you know, for sure. But I also found a way to connect with people, you know, so just in addition to getting people to listen to me, there was also part of being successful is having people want to be around you,
Yeah.
you know. And so I would find a way to connect with some of these folks. Like, for example, that's what I mean about, you know, my background, my set of experiences. You know, my stepfather, as an example, my stepfather, you know, Bermudian, right? um, um, and he was a golf champ, right? He was a golf pro, right? You know, black man, you know, all the, you know, but he played golf for a living for many years. So I was able to go in some of these rooms and talk golf with some of these folks. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's like figuring out how you're going to build connections and relationships, you know, with people who again are not immediately inclined to want to not just speak with you, but to build a relationship. So it was very complicated, you know, but I obviously found a way.
We
Yeah.
just talked about that.
Yeah.
Like episode one for us was about deep diving into the things that made me and Brigethia similar. And it was that
Mm,
we're two girls, both from the East Coast, but one's from the North, one's from the South. what we didn't know about each other is that we both went to PWIs. We both grew up in predominantly white areas. And so in our towns, that made us the unicorn almost. Yes, there were Black
Mhm.
people around, but I put quotations around this is like, what kind? And so for me, you know,
Excuse me.
I I was the Oreo, as my friends would call me, because I was
I
well
hate that so
spoken.
much. Sorry,
Retweet.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I hate that so much because that just assumes so
Yeah.
many things about Black folks that are so narrow. You know what I
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean? I just really hate when people try to define our experience in a way that is so narrow. And I really dislike. And so in the book, you can see in my novel, that's also one of the things my protagonist experiences as, being a bit of a fish out of water because of the way people
Really.
view her, right? And the stereotypical way people, assume, what her perspective is and what she's about.
It's music choice. It's all of the things. I grew up
Mm.
in a very musical household, so I could run down music that a lot of my peers weren't even listening to, or I
Mm.
was well spoken, and so that was a you don't sound like it. So yeah, when I
Which is,
say
I
I
mean, just think about how like internalized our racism is.
yeah,
If we Black folks are going to say that somebody else who is well spoken doesn't sound Black, I mean, how
Exactly.
terrible is that?
That's what I
That's,
was like.
what I'm saying, that is internalized negativity and racism, just straight up.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
then for me did cause me to not want to use my voice, not like my voice, and so that has trailed off
Yeah.
years down the road.
Mm.
To the women who are finding their voice and using their voice, you are one that has done so and has found yours over the years that you've been in this business. You were a part of launching the Undefeated. I want to
Yes.
get into it because we're going editorial, but now we're talking something totally different. We're talking digital platforms. So what did you feel you had to protect most fiercely when corporate pressures showed up in that space?
Well, the undefeated is a very particular example from my background.
Yeah.
Um, I had a lot of corporate pressure and a lot of different types of jobs. I mean, I was you know, I was C-suite and as a chief content officer in two different companies. I was SVP of digital for BET. I had a lot of sort of stressful, roles that were more related to just general sort of KPIs, right? Like how was I going to over deliver on the mandates that I was given, right, in these senior level roles, and
It
how was
was
I going to
always the
do so while
KPIs.
managing a large team, right? While manage, while coming,
Ooh.
so managing a bunch of different personalities, coming in under budget, you know what I mean, delivering, over the line on my revenue, on my profits, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was those kinds of corporate, responsibilities in various roles. I mean, the undefeated was a particular challenge, because of the personalities I was working with at the time. You'll just Google it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Just Google it. It will pop right on up. Um, you know. But I mean, corporate pressures, I mean, it is what it is. Like, this is the job, right? I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Like, if you, and the
Yeah.
higher up the chain you get, the more responsibility you have, the more people you have to work with. You're managing your team, you're managing laterally, you're managing up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are, creating a set of challenging KPIs for yourself that you then have to deliver on, right? You are coming up with a creative and strategic vision for whatever it is you're doing, and then you're executing against that in a way that actually delivers those KPIs, right? Because it's one thing to have an idea, that's cute, but then how do you make it happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to do it in a way that's unique and interesting, and all while maintaining your sanity.
And
Literally.
not being
Right.
aggressive
I
or
was
too
gonna
big.
No, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, even thinking back to the last question we talked about being the first and only, and even again, you talking about the span of the C-suite roles and higher up roles that you've had throughout your career. I always say that there's a different type of pressure on Black women
Hmm.
in those spaces because no matter what, honestly, at all levels, being as you grow in your career, we have this extra effort to where we have to work twice as hard or we also have this thing on us where, like, again, like we said, we don't want to be the only. So it's like, let me not mess up because I don't want to be the only one. I want to give opportunities, you know, for others behind me to come in. So having that pressure, and then also the general pressure of, like you said, as you grow in your career, there's more responsibilities that come with you as you continue to grow up on the ladder. But just thinking about, you know, I know we can, you know, all relate to that of, like, you know, I feel like as a Black woman, there's always just a few extra layers in many different spaces, and not even just our industries, but just many different spaces where you have to, there's so much more to the job than other people, you know, they don't have as pressures, but we have lots.
Well, it's harder to get the job to begin
Yeah.
with, right? You have to be twice as good, to get half as much. And then it's harder to keep the job, you know what I mean? Because there's, so many additional pressures and also just, Black women are under attack right now in this country. I mean, women are under attack. Black folks are under attack. And Black women are triple under attack, right? We're being erased from the workforce, and so, the way in which, we have to factor in, these additional pressures right now is overwhelming,
Yeah.
I mean, we are our livelihood, our voice, our sanity is all imperiled right now. So, we thought it was tough before to be a Black woman in America. Well, it's double, triple tough now.
Yes.
It's rough. But yeah, before we move into the game, I want to note people don't understand. People see the thing and they want the thing. Like they want the position. They want to be Amy. They want the spotlight. But I don't think people fully understand what comes with. It's not just the title, it's the responsibility. What does that look like? Sleepless nights, friendships going haywire, missing birthdays, and this, that, and the third.
Damn, lady.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I was saying. Honestly, I was saying that before. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, in part because of the novel, and I wanted to just think about it and address it in a fun way. Novel's a page turner, y'all. It's a fun. I mean, I'm very intentional. The tone is a fun page turner, but I am addressing serious themes, and one of them is the cost of ambition. And when I said it isn't for everyone. What I meant was that the thing that you sacrifice a lot when you're in these kinds of roles is peace. There are a lot of people out there who have jobs, who have lived in the same place their whole lives, even in the same house, who have had who have worked in the same industry or even in the same job, who have been married to the same person for 40 years, you know what I mean? And this is just not a universe I know. And I'm not saying that my world I'm pleased. What I really mean is I'm not suggesting that what I do is better than anything else. I don't mean that, because what I have personally sacrificed in order to have these visible positions and have this sort of platform to kind of speak my mind and to be a storyteller both behind and in front of the camera, and to have a life of adventure, right? Is peace. I've sacrificed a lot of peace. I love this life that I'm living. It's so full. It's so interesting. It's so adventurous. It's so fun. It's so fulfilling. It's so impactful. And I'm so grateful for it. On the flip side, I don't know a life where I'm just like clocking out at 5 and chilling, you know what I mean? Or that's just not what I have personally experienced. So
yeah, it's the hard wiring that's in us that it just is what it is.
Is what it is.
But that being said, we're going to lighten the mood a little bit. We're going to play a game real quick. Are you down?
I'm down. I'm in. Let's play a game.
Okay, so we're going to read a statement and you tell us if this is something you would say off the record, meaning behind closed doors, or on the record, meaning you stand 10 toes on it publicly, and then you just give us a brief why.
Ooh, okay, so for context though, you guys know I'm not a messy person, right? Like,
no.
I know that. I'm saying like, I'm laughing because there's so many things I could say that I have not said over so many years. Okay, so let's go.
Well, you're in the perfect room for it because
Okay, here we
we're
go.
off the record. So, first one, the industry rewards access more than integrity. Are you off the record?
Ooh,
On the
access
record.
industry rewards access
More than
more
integrity.
than intent. Which industry are you referring to specifically?
Let's say media.
Rewards access more than integrity. I think that's when I would say off the record.
Okay.
I would say it off the record. I would say because I do believe integrity is really important. That's how I walk through the world. I mean, I'm very intentional about doing what I say I'm going to do, and about not sacrificing my personal values in a way that's really going to negatively impact my sense of self. Right.
Right.
At the same I feel very strongly about that. At the same time, if you don't have access, right, to opportunities, right, to certain types of people, right, to certain types of resources, right, then you asked out.
Yeah.
You just asked out. Like, it don't matter your integrity.
Yeah.
You just
It's
asked
about who
out.
you know. Right. It is about who you know.
Because at that point, what aren't you willing to do?
I'm just saying. So it's a tough one. It's there is a balancing act, and you see that. I mean, again, this, my novel, it's not my personal story, but I do mind certain things that I have experienced or seen. And a lot of what my protagonist is doing, a lot of, is some of it is it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
It's how, she's balancing, she's trying to retain her integrity, but she's also like, but how do I get ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, next one is viral doesn't always mean valuable. Would you say that?
Oh, I'd say that on the record.
Okay.
Yeah, on the record. Yeah, look at the stupid shit that's gone. Can I say shit? Am I allowed to say
Run it. We're off the record.
Okay, well, look at the stupid shit that's gone viral. I mean, like, what's that video like that's like the most seen, most viral video ever? Where it's like the woman who's like did that weird like voiceover of the cartoon or something, where she was like, yeah, I mean, it's just what. And I'm trying to like get my little TikTok audience up, and like the stuff that people like, I'm like, what? That's the thing that you like, but like you don't like me talking about motivations in life? Okay. Okay. All right.
Well, attention spans are so short these days. I mean, it always has been, but now the social media, oh my God, it's like you go viral and then people's life.
I mean, I was like, maybe I'll just get my book and be like, let them know. I don't know.
Okay, this one is not actually on our list, but I'm curious. Print media is a dying industry.
On the record.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. How could I say anything? I mean, what, I think that's been well documented.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with on the record.
Okay.
All right. Black girls don't sell magazines. Quotable.
Well, that's just bullshit. It's neither on the record nor off the record because it's nonsense.
And it's also fun because
and y'all have to purchase the book to understand the context and deep dive, because we're giving you some little hints and nuggets here and there, but you guys have to go get the book so you guys can hear more about If I Ruled the World. All right.
Well, that was fun.
That's fun game.
So, Amy, we have a few more questions for you, not a part of the game, but before we let you go, just to, put a bow, add some more color to this, I can easily say that I'm the type of reader who will get a few lines in and then my eyes start crossing and I get a little sleepy. So that didn't happen for me reading this. And so to be able to do a lot of pivoting and take left turns, take right turns, and just embrace all that's been thrown at you in your career, how was it navigating going from editorial writing to now writing a novel? And then we also heard that, initially I was going to say, congratulations, I read your movie and it was phenomenal. But now it's turning into a series or a film, and Lee Daniels is behind it in Hulu. So can you just please, Queen of Pivots, how have you embraced editorial, novel, and now you're going to screen? Like, what can't she do?
I have to say, I mean, this novel, even though it's my debut novel, it is a return to my original dream, that I had when I got my MFA in creative writing in my 20s. I honestly thought I was going to spend my life, writing novels. That was what I wanted to do. And then when I was in grad school, I won an award for a short story that I wrote. And the person who presented me with the award was the then editor-in-chief of Essence magazine. And I had worked, I have pivoted a bunch of times. I started my career in finance, long story, pivoted into fashion, and then, pivoted into kind of media and then got a grad degree. And it was like little small media, brands. It wasn't anything major. And then after I graduated from my program, the then editor-in-chief of Essence circled back to me and offered me the role of fashion and beauty features editor at Essence, because I'd worked in fashion and I had been also working for a small magazine while I was in grad school. And that's what started me down the path of this 20 plus year career in media that I'm so honored to have had. But now going back to writing creatively feels very natural, because that's what I was trained in. Like, that's what I thought I would be doing this whole time. And as you mentioned, I also have a development deal for the television adaptation of If I Ruled the World with Oscar-nominated genius Lee Daniels, set up at Hulu.
Yes. Congratulations. Oh my God. That's
So I'm really hopeful. I'm looking forward to being able to write not just novels, but also write for screen as well.
That's incredible.
Love that. That's so inspiring. I think for all of us who, again, in general, are in this field of comms or media or all of the things, journalism, I think to see you, like Anisa said, pivot so much and trying different things and reinventing yourself. Because I think a lot of times, especially in like the corporate space, you kind of feel like you have to stay on this track and you have to like just keep, if that works for you, that's perfectly fine. But I love that. I think is your book, and even like just learning more about you tonight, like I think it's just a reminder to, listen to what you want, and sometimes things will change and sometimes things won't always be like what you think it would be when you graduate. I definitely couldn't have imagined how things would be for me back when I was an undergrad and I graduated to graduate school. So you just have to pivot, and I think it's a true reminder of that with this conversation.
And just again, like for me, this notion of being on a continual journey, is the thing that really, really, really helps me out a lot. Because I'm always like, what's the next adventure I can have? You know what I mean? What's the next thing I can learn? And it also keeps you young, guys. I mean, I'm much older than the two of you, and it keeps you young. It keeps you fresh. It just keeps your mind like, excited about everything. So, what can I say? I mean, I love the fact that, I'm in my 50s and I get to learn a whole new thing.
Shut up.
50s. Well, you look incredible.
Black don't crack.
It don't.
But it do sag. So,
so
use them serums, ladies. Don't forget your neck. Do your neck too.
The dick
You gotta do
up. Oh my goodness, you were absolutely right. My mom is like, don't forget.
Don't forget. Don't forget
that area.
Serums.
Before we get out of here, something that really spoke to me in If I Ruled the World was Nikki's notes. And specifically when the team she had been trying to build trust with finally said, I see myself in your letter. I dropped a few tears, because you wait for moments like that in every career, whether you're leading a team or you're on a team, to even get a nod that trust is being built. And so I just have to ask you at this point, now that If I Ruled the World is out, after sitting in different seats, what would your Nikki's note or Amy's afterward say to your audience now?
I love that you flag Nikki's notes. It is, it's I don't say it's a narrative device, but it's a way that my protagonist gets things off of her chest to her sugar audience, right? It's her editor's letter that becomes like almost like a confessional. And I actually did pull not the specific things that happen in the book, but the idea for that kind of editor's letter. I pulled it from the way I used to write my editor's letters in Honey magazine, because in a magazine world, there's limited real estate. You know what I mean? You have what you have. It's not like digital where you can just add
Right.
ad nauseum. So I realized there was limited real estate, and I really wanted to write a different kind of editor's letter that wasn't just like, oh, on page 55 there's a great beauty story, on page 68 there's a great story about I don't know, whatever, fashion, whatever. But I was like, this is a waste of a page. And so instead, I would write these very personal letters about things that happened to me in my life and lessons that I learned, and what and ideas that I could impart to my audience. You know what I mean? And just it became like a they almost had like a cultish following. And actually, I used those letters as the basis for my nonfiction advice book for women that I published in like years ago, because it was so because they were so personal, and it was these letters were so meaningful. You know what I mean? So I think if I were going to pick something like that up again, I would probably try to do the same thing that I was doing back in the day, which is to really to be transparent. First of all, I don't like a lot of artifice. I'd rather just tell you the truth of how I'm feeling. But also, I like the idea of humanizing success. Because again, I think that people look at folks in visible positions and just get the idea that these are different types of people than they are, which is not true. Like, I make mistakes. I am utterly and totally human. You know what I mean? And I work my ass off. You know what I'm saying? So, and I learn from my mistakes, and I incorporate those learnings into having greater insight and to being a better person. And I'm on a continual journey to always be better. You know what I mean? But it's a journey, so I think that is the theme that I would continue to have. It's a theme I had back in the day, because I talked to some people who made me understand that they were not viewing what I had accomplished at that relatively young age as something that was achievable for them. And I was like, okay, so let me make sure everybody understands how achievable it is if you just do these things. And also, everybody makes mistakes. The question is how you recover and how you let that mistake inform what you do next. So that would be my theme.
Hey, girlfriend.
Yes.
I'm a consummate big sister. I will big sis you whether you want it or not.
No, we love it and appreciate it. But I do want to say is that I hope that in this moment of you having your new novel, and then you have, series coming, that you are taking it all in, because I know sometimes when we're in the height of things, it's like so much happening, but I hope that you are very proud of yourself, because I am proud, and I'm just meeting you, but I'm very proud, and it makes me even feel and so inspired, honestly, so inspired. One of my other favorite books is More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth, and another person that's in that industry, and a reminder of you're not alone, like these feelings that we all have. And I think, your book with If I Were to Wrote that book and a few others, I think it's a reminder to all of us that like your journey is your journey, and you'll figure it out, along the way. But I hope that you feel very proud, and you are in a moment as much as you possibly can, because I know it's hard to be in the moment, but I'm very, very happy for you. And it's so inspiring, like your story and like all your pivots and just all the things that you're doing. Like I'm very, very happy for you. So thank you for
I really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys so much. And I love that you brought up Elaine. Elaine is somebody who I love, and she's just always been a rock star. And when I was editor in chief of Ebony magazine, Elaine was my beauty editor. And I just, I was editor in chief of Teen People, years before that. And then she became later editor in chief of Teen Vogue. Yep. And I look at somebody like Elaine, and, she's the type of person that that makes me feel very proud, because I know that I walked so she could run.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it just makes me feel so good. I feel like that is hopefully going to be a significant chunk of my legacy.
Absolutely. You are inspiring us. I'm sure you've inspired Elaine and so many others. Definitely us, definitely me. I'm so honored to have you here. And when you guys start doing all the things for If I Rule the World, any of the, events, if you're ever in DC, LA, whatever, we definitely would love to support whatever that may be. If you need, moderators or content or, whatever you guys decide to do.
Appreciate y'all.
Love to support
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Yes.
Listen, for the moment, what I would really love, well, actually, I have an event in LA. I have a second event in LA. I had one last night, but I have a second. I know, I wish I had you guys. It was a huge event. It was over at the Gathering Spot.
Okay.
I would also appreciate any support and love you can give to my novel. This is, as you guys have noted, it is a pivot for me. I'm going down a new path, even though it's a return to an original dream. This is new for me. And, I would very much appreciate if you love my book. Please post about it on social. Please leave me a good review on Amazon or Goodreads. If you have a book club, please introduce it to your book club. Please put it in your group chats. I know you have group chats. Please, tell your folks about it in your group chats. I would really appreciate it. I'm really asking for support for this project.
Yeah, you can let our audience know where they can purchase, where they can follow you, all of the things.
Yes, so you can buy If I Ruled the World literally wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or go into your local Black-owned bookstore, and please buy it there. I definitely in favor of that. Buy it from the Reparations Club in Los Angeles. It's a great Black-owned bookstore. You can go into the Reparations Club or buy it from them online. And, follow me at Amy DuBois Barnett. There's a bunch of info about where I'll be next and just general fun stuff on my socials.
Well, speaking of where you'll be next, I'm about to call Ryan Wilson at the Gathering Spot and tell him we're going to make this a tour. We're going to come to Atlanta and then we're going to go to DC and make sure you hit all the gathering spots because we need the conversation. I definitely would love to make it a thing.
I'd love to come back to Atlanta and be at the Gathering Spot there. I would love to come to DC. I would absolutely love to do that. I would, the event that I had at the Gathering Spot in LA last night was sold out, packed, standing room only. It was crazy. Yes. I'm telling you, listen, the other thing, ladies, I told you I will, big sis you unsolicited, but you got to ask for the sale. You got to ask for the support. And I am not ashamed to be like, please support me and my book, please. I would really appreciate it.
1,000%.
Well, prepare to be sick of me, okay?
I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you.
But on that note, y'all, it has been a beautiful night. If you haven't already, be sure you add to your cart or go ahead and put on that credit card If I Ruled the World by Amy DuBois Barnett. I promise you, this is a read that you want to read, okay? It's so good. My sticky notes are happening.
Oh, dang. You got sticky notes.
I love it. I love it. It took everything in me not to highlight in here because I feel weird about writing in my books, but yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that makes me really happy.
And I'm like listening. I listen. I like to do my listening because while I'm doing things, I'm like, okay, let me listen. So that's my way of reading. But no, we are so excited. We're so happy to have you. So honored to have you. And y'all, until next time, we'll see you. It's off the record.
Appreciate you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.